Boom, baby! Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here!
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to the Emperor's New Groove 20th Anniversary Retrospective Podcast! Yeah! Alright, now, Dragon, I gotta say, when you first brought up the idea of doing this, I was legitimately shocked that we hadn't done something like this before. Just because it feels like we're bringing up Emperor's New Groove every other podcast, which is probably like numerically accurate. So point being, Drake, like we have just referenced this film to death, but we've never actually kind of sat down and done a proper retrospective on it. So we're going to break down the characters, we're going to break down our favorite gags, we're going to break down the moral of the piece. It's going to be a nice conversation, but before that, Dragon, we have to get into nostalgia for this thing because oh boy, oh my god, do I have some nostalgia for this one, buddy boy. So Dragon, this is an interesting kind of point of reference here. So as a kid, I was into Disney animation, and I think Disney animation was one of the first things that I kind of gained a critical eye for, because I was young and I was like mature enough in my viewing habits to gain sort of like an appreciation for like, hey, all these Disney Renaissance films are great. Stuff like the Disney sequels, like Return to Jafar, not so much. I was kind of I had a little bit of a critical eye. So with that in mind, Dragon, I gotta admit, as a 10-year-old, because I was 10 when this thing came out, like 9 or 10, probably 9 when it was being marketed because I had just turned 10 when it came out. I was very skeptical about the whole llama thing. I was like, what is this? This feels like a total mishmash of ideas. It's Dragon, it's almost as if crazy theory here, Dragon, but it's almost as if it was an actual Disney Renaissance film that had then been tampered with and made into a parody of itself. What a weird concept, right?
Yeah.
Point being, though, Dragon, I went in to see this movie. One of the funny things about it is I vividly remember, like, even the trip to the movie theater was kind of last minute. Like, we weren't like my grandparents and I were just kind of sitting around. Like I was visiting my grandparents and we're like, "Hey, why don't we go see that new llama movie?" And I was the one who was a little bit skeptical about it. It's like, I don't know. All right, fine, sure. The timing lined up for it. So, Dragon, we got in our car. We went to the movie theater across town. That's not even there anymore. It's a Kohl's now. So, this has another kind of like weird nostalgic connection for me. It was probably one of the last movies I remember going to at that particular movie theater, the same movie theater I saw, pivotal movies in my development, like the Star Wars special editions, Toy Story, The Lion King, stuff like that. So we went to that movie theater, and Dragon, let me just say, this movie very much shaped my comedic sensibilities. I mean, like that first viewing rocked me to the core, man. It was like, if something like The Lion King or Toy Story rocked me to emotional or like, oh my god, kind of groundbreaking point of view. This was just like, oh wow, I have never seen comedy like this before. Um, it's like it was absolutely my first taste of meta humor, my first taste of fourth wall breaking. Dragon, suffice to say, I mean, since then, that's my nostalgia for it. But since then, I've just gone on to just gain a better and better appreciation for this movie. And, we'll talk about the backstory, but it's kind of a crazy miracle that this thing turned out as well as it, and as memorable as it did, man. It's, I don't know. It's just a really, really seminal movie in my development, just because, much like the Tiki Room, kind of like kickstarted my fascination my fascination with Disney parks. This kind of, like I said, it kickstarted a lot of things in my development in terms of my comedy. Pink Pearl, you're not late at all. We just started, so don't worry about it. And Claude Kring is like, yeah, never ever ruin Emperor's New Groove. You're damn right, Claude. It's a llama so photorealistic you can't even tell that it's not a real llama.
I think he also means, like, don't throw off my groove.
Possibly.
Throw
Uh,
off this groove. Beware of the groove.
I mean, I am not endorsing a live action version whatsoever, but I would be down for David Spade to reprise his role in live action if it ever came to that. And Patrick Warburton, man.
In a perfect world.
I don't know who you get as Yzma. That's
That's
a
the
whole
tough
different.
one.
That's a tricky conversation to have. I mean, realistically, I would even say John Goodman could still play Pacha if they just aged up everyone a little bit. All right. Anyways, Dragon. So, what is your nostalgia for this movie?
Well, I'll tell you. So, yeah, I got a big kind of nostalgic home video tie with this one. Where remember in the days of home video back in the day, where there's almost like this is gonna sound ridiculous. It was almost like an extended universe of all the trailers that would come around like the year of the movies that were coming, as and they were all building up the next one. It's almost like a post credit scene in a Marvel movie sort of thing, but coming at the front end. Where I know it sounds silly, but I'm just showing this how like early it was and how kind of niche
No,
like
I
kind of
hear you. I
Disney.
hear you. It was kind of like, you had the coming soon to theaters and then coming soon to own on Disney VHS.
That's the thing. You had like the big booming voice, and you also
Uh-huh.
had just kind of like basically the string of recurring trailers that again they really built up. And again, they had Disney had an ambiance for building up their own materials, especially in the days of home video. Like particularly the ones around this time, I can always remember very like top of my head. It would be I believe California Adventure got like an ad. Like which one has the giant wolf statue, like the giant like statue of a head?
Yeah, that is definitely California Adventure, and it's a
California
bear, not a
Adventure had like
wolf.
a big build up on Toy Story 2 as well as I think The Emperor's New Groove. You had dinosaurs on one of them, and maybe Atlantis, either Atlantis or Treasure Planet. The point being, in that 2000s block, they kept hyping up the early 2000s movies.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that was the Emperor's New Groove had just honestly, I was sold on it just from the trailer. Because oh my god, this looks like no other Disney movie we've ever seen before.
And
This
that
is
was kind
really
of why I had reservations about the trailer.
I just found that really interesting. Like, man, this is this is unlike. I mean, yet it's Disney. It's kind of interesting. It seemed very
Mhm.
fun, and already seemed. I mean, the movie is very fun, very quotable. Even seems like that in the trailer. You got a glimpse of not even all the. It's so funny. We kind of recontextualize some stuff too. The joke I remember in the trailer that we didn't get in the movie. I mean, we recontextualized in the movie for the way it actually is. In the trailer, they recut the whole. It's a good thing you're not a real fat guy, or else this would be really difficult. In the
Yeah.
trailer, the way it looks, I don't know if you remember this at all. In the trailer, they cut it so it looks like Potch is kind of goofing around, like he's like pulling on the little string. Look, I'm pulling on the string.
Oh God.
That's the way it kind of cuts in the trailer. At least that's the way I always read it as a kid. And then with the whole scorpions and everything happening. So it's the point being, the trailer was already like I was like I'm so sold on this movie. And of course, getting home video it was a treat, man. It was delightful.
Oh, that's interesting that you and I kind of like. I was not sold on it at first, but I very much am sold on it now, Drake. And I think it's not only like absolutely the most quotable Disney movie in my book, it's one of the most quotable comedies of all time, in my opinion. And not just animated, just ever. Just it's in the echelons of comedy, I think. All
All
right.
right. Anyway, so out on this, just to get into my actual kind of thesis to tie it into it here. So this film, reevaluating it 20 years later. Of course, we're always kind of watching. Let's be honest, we're always either clips of the whole movie. Or you're always watching this one. It's so good. But you come back to it with a perspective 20 years later. This film really, given in perspective, this film is a testament to less is more. I love how small scale it is compared to the rest of the Disney catalog. We have four characters, a very simple goal:
Mhm.
turn llama into man again. Very simple, yet so unlike the other Disney films. You got the humor, the character animation is so good, it pops so well. Again, basically, we allow everything to pop and linger because, and it's so weird. It feels like we have so much time to breathe and all this space to explore. Basically, we've made the journey much more intimate in just kind of like letting these play and getting rid of all like the unnecessary elements, boiling it down to the character and story. And the movie, it feels like we have all this space, yet it's shorter than your usual Disney. But this thing isn't 90 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's
It's like
like barely an hour, right?
it's
It's
like
like
it's
more
like
like
it's like
75
78
minutes.
78 minutes. And they take out like 5 minutes of credits. It's more like
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm saying. It's like barely. It's pretty much like 70 minutes.
So
It's an hour.
it's pretty much the Dumbo of its era.
I'm saying it's like a little longer Mask of the Phantasm. That's not saying much. It's, it's yeah.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just amazing that again, it feels so like this movie is as long as it needs to be. Everything just kind of fell into place, and I would say it's kind of like the early 2000s of Disney, particularly. It's we're in this. There's this unsung renaissance of the 2000s Disney films. I mean,
I
this
call it the experimental era.
that's a better name. I'll give you that. But I'm just saying, like in sure, like the experimental era. You have
I
films
will
like
even include Home on the Range in that list. I don't give a fuck.
my point. Is you got this, you got stuff like this, Lilo and Stitch, Atlantis, Treasure Planet. And these are all like these are the standouts that we don't talk about because again we had that
Mhm.
ridiculous thing going on about we're
Well,
typing.
we talk about Lilo and Stitch. Let's be clear.
Well, no, well you know what I mean. What I'm
Lilo and
getting at is
Stitch is that's going through a little bit of a renaissance of its own in terms of fan appreciation.
yes, it is. My point is that a lot of those films that really again just collectively the 2D films before we kind of had that weird misnomer that 2D was killing the industry where it really wasn't.
Hmm.
Back when that 3D was killing the 2D industry, but the point being that it was dying out, which obviously was not true. And I was saying, like, I love they put so much hard work into these films, and I think products like The Emperor's New Groove, I think they go to show that, especially Lilo and Stitch as well. But again, we had such gems in this period that we don't talk about because we're always talking about the Renaissance, and we're kind of missing out on that latter '90s period as well as that early 2000s period. There's a sweet spot in there that we're kind of glossing over.
Sure, sure.
That's why we're here to talk about it today. What do we got in the comments, Tiki?
Well, we've actually got a lot of traction on the remake, surprisingly. Kristen Chenoweth is Yzma, which yes, I could see that.
That's not bad. She could do it, man. She really could.
I like how it goes against her. It kind of goes against her usual like bubbly personality type.
I actually got. I get it. Okay, I'm good. We don't want to. We don't want to turn this into like whole live action pitch for the Emperor's New Group, but real quick, I'm just going to toss. If we wanted to kind of keep it a little bit more, again, as much as the way they cast this movie was they cast him as if they could cast him in live action, which was the point. And again, you'd have like Patrick Warburton, John Goodman, the Eartha Kitt at that time, and David Spade. They could all play their characters in live action. But I think the equivalent in the modern days, off the top of my head, would possibly be like. I love Chenoweth as Yzma, so I'm going to keep that. I'd throw out perhaps Jason Schwartzman as Cusco, and
Oh my God, yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe D'Onofrio as Pacha.
Fair.
I'm said off the top of my head. All right, I'm more. I think Schwartzman.
I think I could think of a better Potch if
I
I
know you
had
could.
him
I'm just
hit.
saying off the top of my head, perhaps. I mean, as an
Yeah.
interesting anyway. The point being, let's not turn this into that.
We could easily do a whole podcast on that if we wanted
we
to.
could speculate for sure, but I think
Yeah.
Anyways, the point being interesting. But again, because that whole live action kind of casting method in this really kind of small scale animated film, while we don't want to see it remade, it actually lends itself to be the easiest one that make the most sense to remake in a sense.
Especially if they like went all in with the fourth wall breaking and just went full Deadpool with it.
Exactly, could be interesting.
Edgar Wright, man.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I know Edgar Wright is like my go-to for everything anyways, but he's like my he's like my pretty much my Guillermo del Toro dragon. Like he's my new Guillermo del Toro when it comes to like, want some sort of like nerd property with some comedic sensibility done, Edgar Wright. Anyways, I also agree Claude Molina would be an interesting addition to a live action remake and would indeed kind of bump up the female quota in the movie as well. So that's a solid idea.
Yeah, incorporating the whole again. These folks. These are great ideas in which, like, if you're going to rebroach, Emperor's New Groove, knowing what we know now, there are things you could add.
Uh-huh.
Right.
All right. So let's get right into it with the with the backstory. Ooh, boy.
Okay, backstory is really interesting on this, so buckle up, folks. All right.
I mean, again, if we really wanted to, well, we could literally do a podcast on the documentary about the backstory, Dragon, which I'm honestly kind of surprised we haven't done that yet.
I rewatched it, by the way. It still holds up, man. It's really good. Better than I'd say it's better than the first one. It's great. So, okay, so basically the story of Begin Emperor's New Groove is this. So, Roger Allers, the guy who did Lion King. So, 94 after Lion King, post Lion King, basically the guy can write his own ticket. He's going to Eisner about wanting to do a Mesoamerican, essentially Prince and the Pauper as a Mesoamerican, kind of like Incan society sort of thing. And Eisner's like, yeah, you dazzled us with Lion King. Do whatever you want, pal. Yeah. So, they go on a trip in 96, they go on a trip to Machu Picchu, and they go to Peru, and we kind of study the Incan culture, and that's why everything kind of looks as great as it does and all stylized as it does in the film. And they're making the movie initially as Kingdom of the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
So now here's the big thing. So Kingdom of the Sun, primarily, at least the way I kind of read it, just in watching everything unfold, is that it really seems like the big musical draw for this piece was Sting. Sting was big, kids. So Sting, basically, kind of a la Elton John for The Lion King, only knowing it ahead of time, like how big it was going to be. It's like, hey, we got Sting because Elton John went over big. Let's get Sting, man. Let's get a big musical draw. So we have that, and basically the premise of the film was always kind of nailed down as the common man teaches an arrogant man how to rule. That was the innate pitch, and you had it was far different from what we end up with here. We had Manco and Pacha, who was played by Owen Wilson, who is again the whole Prince and the Pauper thing. You have two Cusco-looking guys walking around.
Right.
One Owen Wilson, one David Spade. And they kind of switcheroo. And Yzma was in the film always. She was trying to regain her youth by like harnessing the power of the sun, Doc Ock style. But and there was a love story in there. So that's the point being. That's kind of originally what we had. And the problem seemed at least to me to be that they put more focus. They built the movie around the songs, and they didn't have quite a script at the beginning. They had the Prince and the Pauper model. They had the songs, which kind of led the storyboarding process, and it was kind of going from there. And they presented to the Disney executives, which at this point, good old Tom Schumacher, man, I love Tom Schumacher, and Peter Schneider. And they basically they kind of spoke what the room was thinking, that this isn't coming together, guys. We gotta something's not clicking here, and they're probably right because again, it sounds like it was built around the songs. Like, hey, we got Sting, man, he'll save us.
Oh God, Sting will be our Phil Collins.
Now, to be fair, Sting. I want to be clear. Sting isn't like he's not a prima donna or anything in this. He's a guy. He's like, hey, I want to work with Disney. He's come up with songs, and he's putting.
If Phil Collins was the one who was a little bit of a prima donna.
Oh, sure, but that's what I'm saying. So Sting's not the bad guy in this situation, kids. At least as far as I see it. But okay, here's the big takeaway. So they've put 4 years into this movie. 4 years, a quarter of the animation done, and now it's at risk of being shut down, which is no bueno. That ain't good. So just to top it off, Allers, he kind of leaves the project because it's no longer what he wanted it to be, and just the deadline's too impossible. So then it's time for the co-director to step up. The co-director is Mark Dindal. Mark Dindal, by the way, who before this had done Cats Don't Dance. So the Cats Don't Dance guy did this.
Oh my God! That makes
shows,
sense.
doesn't it?
That makes sense.
Yeah, it shows. So here are the guys left with the buck to kind of make work here. So we have Mark Dindal in the director's chair. We have David Reynolds, who was kind of on board with the writing, but now he's kind of stepping up in a big way for the writing. So David Reynolds, he punches up a lot of the Pixar movies. He was the third writer on Finding Nemo, along with Bob Peterson and Andrew Stan. So you had David Reynolds. And he's punched up gags on Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. He's been around. So David Reynolds is a great writer, being the point. And you have Chris Williams, who he was a story guy. He was a writer on Mulan, and he directed Big Hero 6. We like Chris Williams. So the buck falls to these three guys to save the day. So the first call is they're ditching the musical aspect because again they just don't have the room for it because they got to make room in this thing pronto. They're going to focus more on the comedy, give it like a Chuck Jones cartoony style. We've got to go not just cartoony, we got to go like grade A cartoony. We got to go full on Chuck Jones. What's something Disney's never done? They've never done Chuck Jones. Let's do it. And of course, going to make it a buddy picture because why not? Everyone loves a good buddy picture. They get Florida and Paris. They get the Florida and Paris studios to kind of help with the animation. Chris Williams has the bright idea to add Crunk in the mix. Crunk originally was like a little stone guy voiced by Harvey Fierstein. We nixed him, made him a candle, and now it's the wonderful Patrick Warburton. Like stealing the movie.
Oh my God! Absolutely.
Let's see. So, of course, there was a lot of chaos in figuring out who's going to do the score for the movie, again, with the whole sting of it all at play. So they got John Debney, who I think did an excellent job. John Debney, one of the cinematic greats as far as it comes to score, one of Favreau's guys. And Sting, he did save the day in a very big way. Sting helped save the ending of the movie. So Sting wrote a letter. Basically, he's very environmentally minded. He wrote a letter saying the whole Cuscotopia thing. basically, like originally Cusco just built Cuscotopia on like a different hillside. So he
Oh
built.
God, that's not. Oh God.
So he built the full thing, and
That
they were all
defeats the whole purpose of the movie, doesn't
exactly. It does, and that was the point. He wrote a very emphatic letter, which like because again, remember, Sting has a lot of credence. So I dedicate all this time, which I thought was going to be an easy process. You guys nix all my songs. I have to put them on the soundtrack with no one, which barely anyone's going to see.
Oh.
I get one song in the credits, one song at the top, and I don't sing it. To be fair, he chose not to sing the top one. But they got Tom Jones, which is awesome, by the way. Tom Jones rocks.
Just really quick, Claude. I could see Emperor's New Groove being a stage musical if that's what you're saying. I could see that for sure.
There's certainly music at the heart of this thing. They don't have time to really do it.
Now, I will say, Dragon, Claude, we brought up the cut song from Yzma. Are you gonna get into that?
I was going to bring up as like one of the songs that went on the soundtrack, but I mean, yeah, you had the.
I will say that is the one element from the original Kingdom of the Sun. Like, don't get me wrong, the original Kingdom of the Sun really intrigues me, but I'm very happy with the movie we got, obviously.
Yeah.
But I will say the snuff out the. I'm sorry, what's the Yzma song?
God, it's called Snuff Out the Light.
Snuff Out the Light. I was going to say
trying to steal the sun.
Snuff Out the Dark. I think I was confusing Snuff Out the Dark with Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Oh no, she's trying to steal the sun's power and make herself young. Hence
Snuff Out the Light. Right. So that is the one element of Kingdom of the Sun I really wish they would have kept. Because my God, Yzma Kit deserved a fucking Disney villain song.
And again, it was if you listen to it, it's a really great villain song.
It is. It slaps.
It slaps.
You've never heard slaps?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think if you maybe mentioned it once,
I've used slaps multiple times, Dragon. It's one of the few bits of modern kid lingo that I actually get into. I like it. I like the terminology.
Haven't used it with me often, Tiki. I can tell you.
Slaps.
Whatever that means. Okay.
That's what the kids are saying.
Right. Anyway, so again, also big takeaway. Sting's wife, in agreeing to do the movie, and of course, given how railroady kind of was. Again, also big P.S. to the story again. So he saved the day, saying, "Guys, I'm against like the whole rainforest, like tearing down the rainforest and reappropriating people, basically moving people out of their homes. Like, we're kind of defeating the purpose of the movie. Let's fix it." And they did.
To be fair, they have him build it on an empty hillside.
And I think it was just like they never specified to the point.
Another village.
We just cut to like another hillside village, I assume.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know if it was as bad as like literally on the other hilltop he built before. I'm not sure, but it just sounds like he built like another village. The point being, it sounds like they didn't learn anything. But he invited Pacha and his family, so it was kind of okay, but it's still defeating the purpose.
Yeah, I'm 30 and I say it too, Pink Pearl. I'm just saying, like, it's modern lingo. It's not lingo that was around 10 years ago, I don't think. Thanks, Pink Pearl. No problem on being late on it. I got plenty of birthday love. I probably too much. I kind of feel bad because people at work were like giving me gift cards and shit, and I was like, oh no. Anyways.
All right. So basically, in agreeing to do the movie as well, Sting, his wife, got permission to make a documentary, which was the Sweatbox, which is basically the behind-the-scenes chaos that went on and all the changes in the.
What all did Disney know?
Because they had 6 months to change all this, by the way. That's crazy. Now, one last note to make here. So Katzenberg, he struck again on this movie.
Oh God!
Think about it. He's on his way out after Lion. Katzenberg. Anyway, old Katzenberg, the thorn but blessing in our side sometimes. Katzenberg, he ripped off. He essentially did what he's done with a lot of Disney and Pixar films, in which he took like a Bug's Life made ants. In this case, he learned that they were doing a Mesoamerican set Disney film, so presumably this kind of gives Katzenberg the fire to kind of get El Dorado made.
Well, you know what? That's for the better though, because both of them are classics,
They
and they're.
are. So I was saying, ultimately, for a change, it worked out. It worked out.
I know, right? That's like one of the few times where I feel like, as much as I love Emperor's New Groove, El Dorado might be on the level with it for different
It is.
reasons.
I love them both, and yeah, it's so trippy too. Like earlier, and I swear to God, I completely forgot that Emperor's New Groove also it was coming out this year at the time we did El Dorado. But
Uh,
also, again, both movies come out in 2000, competing with each other, both 20 years. Unfortunately, neither did well in the box office at the time, but they became cult followings. Everybody wins.
I'm actually kind of surprised Emperor's New Groove didn't do well at the box office, considering just how memorable and quotable it is.
That's what I'm saying. But again, box office though. Again, critics loved it. El Dorado,
Right.
unfortunately, did not fare as well in that. But again, that one absolutely became a cult favorite. Emperor's New Groove always had like, well, it's a good movie. People should watch this. But but
Uh-huh,
now they
uh-huh.
have it. Now you're talking about it. Huge resurgence. 20 years later, enter us. Boom, baby.
All right, so let's get into the characters. So we start. I just let me just say, all four of these characters are just absolute gold.
Mhm.
Like, just it's such a great lineup. But Cusco, I mean, just what can you say about Cusco? He's Disney's Deadpool dragon.
For the most part, yeah. Yes, he is.
I mean, I will never forget how the movie opens with like, just Cusco literally just like, you see that sad sap over there? How pathetic. I'm just like, oh man, it just like I said, that was like baby's first fourth wall break dragon.
Yep. Speaking of baby first fourth wall break, then we have Cusco as a baby. So yeah. But
But
yeah, it's a,
anyways, the movie really does set up Cusco quite well as like he's almost kind of like the. It's funny because him and Adam Sandler do a lot of movies together, but he kind of reminds me of like a stereotypical Adam Sandler leading man. You know what I mean? Where it's like he's just this rich, pompous man child who has everything handed to him. He's just totally immature in his attitude.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you gotta remember, this is kind of David Spade. He gets known for a very patented style of humor and sarcasm. Again, kind of the base. I've always felt that his performance here as Cusco and as Richard and Tommy Boy are kind of the best performances he's ever given. I truly, I think it's just they're top tier for him. And again, the performances where we take a style of comedy and we add like layers and narrative to it. We just kind of add like we give him something to really play in versus David Spade doing his thing.
Uh,
That's what I'm saying. I just David Spade's having so much fun as this fourth wall break and ego maniac ruler. I always loved the opening of with the whole "Perfect World" song. It has like the perfect introduction ever to a character. One again with the fourth wall break, but then just like we get to see the swagger of the guy. Like I love that we start with a Disney character, like a cool factor to him, where we never really start off like it's usually like we're in like a dire strait or something. We have
right, right,
thing
right.
down,
Yeah.
they're going through something. And in this case, like my God, these are going great for Cusco at the start of it. Look at he's dancing. He's got servants galore. Like this
I
is okay.
love the scale of that opening number. With
Yeah,
the choreographed dancing and just. By the way, can we just acknowledge how cool the palace design is with the
that's the thing.
giant faces and everything?
Palace is as big as the scale gets in the movie, and I like that.
Uh huh. Uh huh. But it's gorgeous, though. It's like for the scale, it absolutely is gorgeous.
And I love the story significance of it,
Yeah,
where
let's not
ultimately,
go that far, Claude. Let's not go that far.
yeah,
If we're gonna bring Adam Sandler as Cusco, you might as well just go all the way and do David Spade at that point.
no, but what I'm getting at here is I love that story wise there is a purpose to it. Where again, Cusco is a lonely character, and that's kind of like Pacha's point with him in the movie, where Cusco he's little guy, us obviously in comparison to Pacha as well, but little guy, huge palace, very lonely. Kind of there's a sad loneliness in this little guy, huge rooms. And again, he's getting in his own way. Like again, like, hey, you got brides for you here, and just insults all the brides, and he kind of
You
treats
know what
people.
one of my absolute favorite moments from Cusco in the first act that no one ever talks about is.
You've got a lovely personality.
No, no, no. Well, that's great, but the super focus into like, oh God, what is in her teeth?
Oh yeah, the whole Eastern. Here's the thing I completely forgot about till like this watch is that oh my God, if you listen close, you kind of hear Eartha Kitt going blah blah blah
Oh
in the
God.
scene. Like I'm pretty sure she's like going a little blah blah blah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Crazy. But you can think about the thing about Cusco too that they really worked on in this first act, because you got to think the reason we have the baby thing and we have the whole like look at the sad llama in the rain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There is a tight wire act on Cusco where he could be really, really unlikable, and that's going to be a problem because we don't care about
on being the villain in the first act of this movie for sure.
Exactly. I love they hit such a perfect end. They made him very. I can't quite say I mean, he's fun. I don't know if I call him charismatic because he's doing a lot of bad stuff, but he's fun to watch. He's very in that regard. I guess he's.
I mean, he's almost like a couple notches away from being a Gaston.
Sure. I mean, yeah, he's more kind of wiry Gaston in a sense. Again,
right.
Versus actually having the looks, he has the accoutrements. He's got everything.
Exactly.
He's got the pout. So that's the thing. I mean, but again, I like that there is some you like watching him. There's a likability there, but not a likability for what he's doing. But again, they could have very easily gone off the rails, and that's why we're kind of front loading of like we're having fun with him with the whole lot. And we know up front he's going to get a comeuppance. So I think that helps a great deal. Like we know he's going to be turned into this lum. We don't know how yet, but we know this guy. The worm is going to turn.
Yeah, Claude Yzma is the hero of this movie. No, that is my headcanon. That's always been my headcanon.
So yeah, Cusco, very ignorant, very ego-driven. The guy is like he's a perfect kind of a statement on ego. Remember the posters for Emperor's New Groove?
Oh yeah. Just zoom in on his face.
Well, no, it's also like it's either that or like basically they're all modeled after the same thing. It's just Cusco standing in like a giant white thing that says "me" behind it in red. Like
right.
The movie's me. It's just such a great false advertisement of the movie. I love it.
That reminds me of I mean we'll get into this more in 2 years when we do the Lilo and Stitch 20th anniversary thing.
Oh yeah.
But the Lilo and Stitch, let's just say, it definitely had a bait and switch marketing campaign, and I have thoughts about that we'll get into in exactly 2 years.
I love that marketing campaign. We can't talk about it here. Let's
Little teaser, we're 2 years down the line. Anyways,
should we move on to Pacha?
Yeah, sure. So Pacha is just absolutely the heart of the movie. Like you can't deny that. He's easily the least funny character in the movie, but he's easily the most empathetic by a long shot.
That he is. He brings the great dramatic heft. Again, John Goodman never disappoints as an actor. He always brings.
I really can't think of any. Evan Almighty.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's bringing it. Not a great.
We've gone down this road before. I just can't stand Evan Almighty.
I know that's the thing. It's not his fault. It's the movie's fault.
I know.
He always brings is my point. But even again, especially here, we were so lucky. We're so blessed that we have Sully. But even if we never got Sully, I mean, that's the thing. Everyone knows Sully from Monsters Inc. But I mean, that's the crime, though, because Pacha was also a very solid performance for John Goodman.
Yeah, no one ever talks about Pacha, and he even gets lost in the shuffle in the fan base for this movie. I feel like, because I feel like the villains just really steal the show in this movie, at least in terms of like. Cusco's great, but the villains, even more so than Cusco, have all the great lines.
I mean, call me soft, call me mushy after all these years, but I tell you, man, Pacha always touches me. This film, all the stuff we do with Pacha, is just, it's so much, as you said, so much the heart of the film. Brilliantly, the film is so brilliant about nuance of performance, both with the actors' performances and the animation conveying said performances. He's the perfect opposite of Cusco. He's so likable. He's so majorly likable. He's so selfless. Like he finds Rudy. Like I have a great gag with Rudy. He's just been thrown out the window. It's just we just like, oh, do you have me my shoes? Says, oh, here you go. Oh my God, he helps him down. He's just so. I love characters with strong moral compasses and imperatives, and like the imperative to do the right thing, which I think Pacha and Krunk have very, very much so. And Pacha's more clear cut about it, and I love it. He's such a unique protagonist, don't you think? We never see characters like this. At least we didn't, until maybe a Pacha. Like think about it. He's an older guy. He's got a family. He's got a pregnant wife. Very unique circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we already kind of addressed with Cusco, he really is, protagonist is the best word for it, because Cusco is not just borderline. I would say he is straight up antagonistic with the whole like, oh, look at the Cuscotopia.
So much so just a few things. So one, he literally has the most awesome diagram model ever, just to show you, hey, I'm gonna run away from you, and I brought you all the way out to my palace to
Right.
demonstrate this. Again, just not thinking that he's not thinking maliciously, but he's acting malicious.
No, and you know what? That's a good point that you make with Cusco. Just really quick, is that thinking maliciously or acting maliciously, not thinking maliciously. Great point to hit. But anyways,
Yeah, and so we're doing that, and so yeah, so we do something like that where we're kind of crushing the man's hopes, and it's just, oh god, it's great.
and then should we get into his family?
Ah, yes, I always loved Pacha's family, man. I love Chicha so much. Chicha, again, Wendy Malek, as Claude's pointed out, Wendy Malek, wonderful voice actress. I love her in Fillmore, particularly. If I had to pick one Wendy Malek performance, it's going to be Fillmore always. She was so great. As the principal was basically like the police commissioner of kind of our quote unquote like law and order in the school. But yeah, and the kid, Tipo and Chaka, they're great.
Their best moment is in the third act, which we'll get to.
Absolutely. We'll definitely get there. Yeah. But that's the thing. I love that. I love that. Pache cares about his house on the hill because it's been his family for many generations. We have a very you're very empathetic towards his plight, what he's going through. I just love that throughout the film he's championing that Cusco has the capacity to change. Like he's a very patient guy despite his stature. He's like, okay, he can change. He's so pushed by this little guy. He's needling away at him.
He's like kind of like Cusco's Jiminy Cricket in a way.
In a way, yeah. Here's the thing that blew my mind on the rewatch, Tiki. I don't know if you caught this, or maybe in some of the viewings you've caught this. Is that the thing that really touched me on the rewatch? Is that
I didn't even do a rewatch for this trick, and I know this movie like the back of my hand.
We all do, but never hurts.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so Cusco and Pacha,
Oh,
they have a heart on their sleeve conversation in this movie.
yes, no, you're right. Absolutely. It's all through subtle character interaction.
All conveyed so flawlessly without any of the conventional Disney dialogue, or like we're not spelling it out for anyone. Like they don't say the words, but you could read it so much in the face. I love it. The animation can be so cartoony in this with the whole Chuck Jones nod, yet it's so realistic in those moments. It's just so wonderful. I love it. Again, Pacha, as I said, again, just this absolutely the heart of the film, and again that palace scene too. Just again, as said, again, all of that, where again he's just kind of bringing it to crush his host, but also it's nice to see him get some interaction there, where Pacha again he's just so good-hearted. You gotta love it.
And of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the whole "Make the Hills Sing" moment.
Yeah, yes, it's just so beautiful. Where he's talking so much about the home that he loves. It's like when the light hits the hill just right, they sing.
such a great, like you really feel the empathy in that moment. All right, 100%. So let's move on to Yzma. Dragon, if I will, can I quote my favorite section from this whole movie?
You mean if you may, but by all means.
I'll turn him into a flea, a harmless little flea, and then I'll put that flea in a box, and then I'll put that box inside of another box, and then I'll mail that box to myself, and when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. It's brilliant, 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 I tell you. Brilliant, I say. But to save on postage, I'll just poison him with this.
Love the inflection. I'll poison him with this.
Oh God, Drake, we've already. I could just do that is like probably my all-time favorite joke in any comedy ever. Honestly, it's just so funny on so many levels.
I'm gonna build to the flea in the box, but I like that you're front loaded because that scene is so perfectly where again. Let me put it this way: Pacha's hold the hill sing moment that kind of encapsulates him as a character. Where Flea in a Box encapsulates Yzma as a character, tells you everything you need to know about her.
She's overthinking things.
Yeah, she's she's going with the emotion there. So basically, there's a lot to obviously Eartha Kitt, of course, perfect casting.
Oh God, I am so glad we got Eartha Kitt as a Disney.
I mean, she won awards for the series for Yzma because again, they just found ways to keep giving like accolades for performance of Yzma. He was in the series.
I need to check out the series, man. That is definitely a blank spot in my Emperor's New Groove resume.
And now you have access to it, so yeah.
Outside of that one Christmas episode we did, of course.
Well, no, it was Halloween.
Oh, it was Halloween. My bad.
It had like a very Christmassy title, that's why I get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
That stole Cusco pretty.
Right.
Anyway, so of course, Eartha Kitt's performance here. So Yzma is a brilliant satire, and this is absolutely what you were kind of hinting at in the backstory. This is absolutely us kind of parodying what the original Disney, like kind of your Disney Renaissance film would have been. It's a brilliant satire on the classic Disney villain. That originally she was a little bit more kind of a little classic Disney villain. We didn't have a Kronk to play off of, so we weren't taking as many Looney Tunes pot shots. Basically, we take a menacing and cruel bad guy like a Cruella de Vil or possibly a Maleficent or something, but let's just say Cruella de Vil. And we apply Looney Tunes rules to her.
Absolutely.
We make her the glutton for punishment, give her setbacks, even if she's not being turned into a literal pinata. We can give her setbacks. We let the air out of the balloon, where it's like, I'll do all this. So say, I'm going to hit it with a hammer. Or else, she just gets so theatrical in the presentation, and she goes big. And basically, she is, again, along with the palace, which she's very much connected to, she's the biggest scale in the movie, yet she's stuck. She's just unaware of how small scale the movie is, which leads to a lot of fun. She's the biggest presence in the movie.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, I think a lot of the Cats Don't Dance angle, bled into the Yzma in the reworking, and I think it was great, and I think it just kind of did everything. There's a little bit of Darla Dimple in her, with just kind of in the presentation, which is just great.
The design is just priceless.
Yes, it is. I love that she's like on the nose evil, and of course the running gag of the film, scary beyond all reason. Right. Was this woman scary beyond all reason? That's her. It's like they put that into. They just put that. Okay, how can we visualize scary beyond all reason and make it? Okay, I think we got it. But that's also the thing, T. I love that, like Cusco, she's kind of a perfect parallel to Cusco. And this is a whole movie about opposites. We have many opposites when there are four characters. And Cusco is all about ego, and she reflects that. And she is also about ego in her own sense. She's getting in her own way, only she doesn't. She doesn't come around like she doesn't have Pacha. She has Kronk, and Kronk's an enabler. That's the difference. Okay, Kronk's the enabler. Pacha's actually pushing back a little bit. She doesn't have that, so she's all ego that is left unchecked, and what Cusco could have become.
I'm just gonna shout out Fireblast Studios here because this sounds like a super fun podcast. He does a podcast about the whole Emperor's New Groove franchise called the Emperor's New Podcast. So,
nice.
Yeah, check that out. That's, by the way, a very, very good name for a podcast. I'm kind of jealous of that name. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. I echo everything you said. I think she's practically a perfect comedic villain.
And again, also with the theatricality, I mean, she's got a roller coaster entrance to her. I mean, that just shows you she has fun going big and theatrical with things. She's got it looks like the opening of Beetlejuice. This thing, it's awesome. The Beetlejuice cartoon.
Why can't we have that as a Disney attraction? Is what I want to know.
Oh, I told you they made a Christmas ornament of this year for the 20th anniversary.
Oh my God, I want that. Oh, I need that. Oh my God, my mom and I collect Disney ornaments.
You haven't seen it yet, have you?
No.
You look into it after this. It's really cool.
Oh man, all right.
Also, I guess tell me when we're moving on because I have something again to bring up about Pacha. I remembered.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember I was stumbling a little bit during the podcast because I forgot the other point I was going to make, but I remembered the point is as you were mentioning the whole protagonist antagonist thing with him and Cusco, we literally have a moment where Cusco has to remind us to spell it out for the audience with the fourth wall break where he circles him and says, "Remember, I'm in the bag."
I'm so glad you brought that up because, yeah, that is absolutely like the Deadpool moment of the movie. I think.
I'm in the bag. He's literally drawing on the projection. I'm in the bag. My movie, not his. Xing out Pacha. Mine, not his. Sorry.
My movie, not his movie. My movie, not his movie.
Sorry to stop you. Just want to make sure you knew when he exits out. This is perfect. Great.
Oh god, and of course it's like right in the middle of like an emotional high point for Pacha. Oh
So
god.
so far, folks, we've talked up Cusco, we've talked up Pacha, we've talked up the incomparable Yzma. But you know who we got to talk? We got to talk about the actual star of this movie.
Kronk just he steals the show. Like he is the best Disney side character ever, man. I mean, just there's like a lot of Disney comedic side characters fall flat, and Kronk just absolutely soars.
We've literally the MVP of the movie, so much so he got a sequel, man, because people loved him so much. I think that speaks for itself. I mean, Patrick Warburton is this is I love Patrick Warburton. This is Patrick Warburton at his best, I'd say, and he never disappoints either. He's always great. So of course we have a henchman. Of course, you know this is up Tiki and Izali. This is a henchman all about the pleasantries and enjoying the little things. He is
Spinach Puffs Dragon.
oh god, oh my spinach puffs.
Just like I love how it's like he knows, like he's not as stupid as he comes across. You know, like he is pretty stupid,
He's a
but
hobbyist. He's not stupid. He's a hobbyist.
he knows that this dinner is literally set up to kill Cusco. But that does not faze him, Dragon. He's going to put on a damn good dinner.
Look, if Yzma didn't want all the tomfoolery, I mean, she should have known not to make it a dinner. I mean, that's the thing. Because again, Crunk's gonna deliver, man. He's all about the ambiance and the place settings and the whole 9 yards. I love that. Really, Crunk is absolutely Pacha's equal in both. Like, again, kind of, he's the heart, he's the pleasantries. He's absolutely the heart and like the angel compared to our devil character that they're accompanied with. But he
oh my god, the shoulder eight.
I'm gonna get there.
Oh god, there's so many great things with Kronk.
There are. But you see my point though, is that again,
Yeah.
like he's not as effective as Pacha at teaching his counterpart. But again, ultimately, Kronk learns the error, getting their counterpart to learn from the error in their ways. But I love that we have some moral complexity with Kronk with the shoulder angels.
God.
Never. It's like I kind of tell me if I'm crazy with this. Does Kronk, in a sense, feel like he's kind of an avatar for the kids in the audience? Do you?
A little bit. I could see that.
And then again, the way he's kind of taking things, he's kind of the innocent in the room, but he's also again like he's kind of spelling it. Like, the way Cusco is literally spelling it out. We're doing it like a little more subtly, more comedically with Kronk.
Cusco, the poison used to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Right. Or it's the shoulder angels being kind of this great, like Krunk's, he's a wonderful good guy, but he's in with the wrong crowd, and the shoulder angels show like he's not that far gone. And even his worst instincts are just like, just follow orders. It's not really like saying like, yeah, muha, murder or anything. It's like,
all right. So two of my favorite gags with Kronk in the first act. Number one, oh god, did he give himself theme music?
Which, by the way,
and then number two, and plus, look what I can do. What does that have to do with anything? No, he has a point. I just love how easily the shoulder angel just crumbles. He's like, nah, he can do a one-armed handstand. He's got a point.
We need on Disney Plus. We need the shoulder angel spin.
Oh my god! Oh fuck yes! Oh god.
Okay.
Anyways.
Well, seriously, honestly, more accurately, what if we gave him a spin-off movie? Let's give him a spin-off show or like a series of shorts. I think we can give him that much.
Kronk would shine in a series of shorts, man. And of course the squirrels speak as well. I mean, there's just so many iconic elements with Kronk.
I'm just going to list off a few. So again, look at all the hobbies that Kronk's involved in here. Again, so the point is, like, instead of just being the generic scary muscle to the bad guy, big lovable guy with many hobbies. So of course, his hobbies include he cooks. He takes part in exotic bird bingo. He speaks squirrel. He was a junior chipmunk. He's great with kids. He's got so many great hobbies. He's just awesome.
And he has one of my favorite fourth wall breaks in the movie, which is, by all accounts, it doesn't make any sense.
which is great. It's great, and also I love that he basically with the whole poison, the Cusco's poison. Again, he makes exposition fun. Where okay, we're reminding the kids in the audience again, him being kind of the avatar for the kids. Like, okay, so the plan in this scene, just in case anyone's lost on, we're going to poison Cusco. That's what they're trying to do here. So everyone thinks like, why did they want to turn him into a llama? Or no, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. We're going to have Krunk remind the kids of this. But again, we made
Right.
expo. All right.
Also with the map gag, I love the moment where Yzma and Krunk see the lines, and they're just like, I don't know.
I love this movie has taken the old cartoon cliches and they've made them. They just made them kind of. They get a fresh twist on them. Again, the shoulder angels being the most classic, kind of, as well as like the old like the shoulder shrug. I don't know.
Oh God.
So of course I got to mention my favorite joke in the entire movie.
Okay.
Favorite joke in the entire movie, the one that gets me every time, as I laugh uncontrollably, is the bringing back the spinach puffs gag, and when Yzma cuts Krunk down, the big moment, where it's just, hey, you know what, like a big stupid monkey named Krunk, and of course the shoulder angels are there as they kind of shrug their shoulders, like, why is he talking to? He's actually, we reveal that when he's talking to the shoulder angels, like it's in real time, and like there's like, why? Who's he talking to? I don't know. Is when Yzma goes off on him and really harshly, she wounds the puppy of the movie. She says, and one other thing, she goes out of her way to wound him on this too. So evil. Says, one other thing, I never liked your spinach puffs. Ever. She adds the ever. And we just see this is the big is Krunk. He just has the quiver of the lip, and he's so hurt. And the angel is like comforting him. And I completely forgot about this. If you look on the little tiny face of the little red devil, you see a range of performance there too. Like, no, that's it. You see him go from like, oh no, it's
yeah.
And then it's okay. She's going. I just like the moment, just seeing Krunk just so hurt, and your heart. You kick the puppy on screen. No, Krunk is such a happy character, and seeing him just so wounded like that when nothing's ever gotten him down like that in the entire movie, and doing it through the shoulder angles, it's perfect. And I die laughing every time I watch that scene.
Yeah,
perfect.
All right, so a couple comments here. We will get to the diner scene, Claude. Don't you worry. Fireblast Studios says,
idea. Go on.
What?
Yeah, Fireblast Studios has an excellent idea. Can say what it is?
Yeah, the cooking show starring Kronk. It'd be better than Okie Dokie Cooking.
That's what I'm saying, though. Of all we're doing all these cooking shows these days, why not give Kronk one on Disney? Do it.
As long as we have the angel and the devil in there every episode, like as long as there's like some sort of big moral dilemma, I think that's the formula you got to hang it on. And also, I love that he's very talented at drawing in the animated show. That's a cool little tidbit.
But again, Claude, honestly, Disney Plus presents Kronk the series. I think that's that would give us a little bit of everything. Maybe a cooking show, maybe an Angel Devil every episode.
Kind of like a Kronk Animaniacs.
Pretty much. You have Kronk's dad in there, the whole thumbs up from Poppy.
Oh my god. That's literally just the name of the segment, just thumbs up from Poppy.
Maybe Kronk has a family, because again, we set him up with the girlfriend at the end.
Of course, the Junior Woodchucks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kronk is so interesting. Spin-off, man. Let's give him a series.
Absolutely. All right. So is that it for Kronk for now? Okay.
Kronk, we're gonna move on.
All right. So let's get to the set pieces. So let's the Gorge, of course.
Yeah, the Waterfall and the Gorge is like great buddy comedy at play with Cusco and with Cusco and Pacha. I mean, we have this. Of course, one of the great things also in the trailer, by the way, which is the whole we're about to fall over, about to go to the waterfall, big sharp rocks at the bottom, most likely. Calling out the tropes all over this movie, like, oh, they're going to go down the thing, we're going to milk it for Henchman. No, we're going to take the tension out of it. So something big we had to talk about was the kind of the buddy pairing here as we get to the Gorge, is that the movie has a built-in thing of defeated, they call it defeated expectation, where it's this runner in the film where basically they have a fun twist onto every situation when they can help it to avoid being stale or being a little stock and kind of tropey. And basically, it's practically a film made of matchstick moments from Pixar films in a way.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, how the heck are they going to get out of this every turn, especially by the time we get to the climax, where it's brilliant because we get to that bridge crossing, we get the bridge scene, and of course they climb all the way up in a really triumphant manner. And of course, once they do it, like, we reached the end of it. We're only two guys. We can't go any further. We use the llama neck to get out of it. How the heck are they going to get out of this? It's brilliant. Somebody with the subversions, I also love how we subvert the easy solution in Cusco's arc and like getting back to the palace. Where, okay, bridge is only an hour. It's only an hour away from the palace. We cross this bridge. We'll be fine. So we take that off the table with a really great pivotal character moment where Cusco violates the sanctity of the handshake.
Yeah.
Like Ray Kroc, he does not honor the handshake deal. And we pace for it. They're both in peril. And we have that big bonding moment in Crisis with the whole back-to-back solution, which is another kind of big kind of flagship moment of the film. And all this chaos of scorpions and bats, and God, it's terrifying. And there's that nervous chuckle at the end. It's a brilliant little chips are down touchstone of Cusco and Pacha. Man, it's nice.
Yeah, it's a great moment. Like, it incorporates like the best of the heart of the movie and the kind of Looney Tunes physics of the movie.
Yeah. Let me bring it back to the end so well in that climax. All right.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Tiki.
Huh?
You hungry?
God. I will say the Mudka's Mud Shack or Mud Hut. Dragon, it's one of the all-time best birthday sequences. I send this to every person on Facebook when it's their birthday.
Really?
It is my go-to. Is that little 1 minute clip of like the happy birthday from all of us to you, and then the clip ends with Kronk just coming out like, "Oh, it's your birthday."
I love like we have the leftovers wrapped up in like a tin foil. Big slice of like comedic like cartoony birthday cake.
And of course in that sequence, just all kinds of just shenanigans going on. Pacha's on to Yzma, and then we have Cusco going in to talk to the chef, which happens to be Kronk.
Which, by the way, Cusco dressed up as Pacha's quote unquote wife, which is which is great. This whole sequence, it's basically, of course, the whole idea. Obviously, the movie is not worried about inaccuracies because this is the big we don't care. Like, yeah, we're gonna have a truck stop in here. Who cares? It's gonna be an Incan time. It's gonna be
right.
We have like a waitress who's pretty much modeled after Flo, the waitress. with like Patty Deutscher as Maja, the waitress.
No problem, hon. We do that all the time.
I love how we have like the ticked off again. So much modeled after like the Chuck Jones like body type guys. We have like the Chuck Jones chef who gets ticked off and he quits and then passes the buck off to Kronk. Right. I love Kronk instantly gets the shorthand. They just list off terms I couldn't dream of repeating to you. Just like make it slim. That sort of stuff. And it's just such a kinetic sequence, so well laid out of Cusco and Yzma is going through like practically a revolving door now of like going to complain to the chef like, yeah, I'm going to change my order. I'm going to change this, change that, and as Kronk's just cooking away, he's busy. It's wonderfully crowded in all the best ways. Oh, it's great. And then also just comedy before that too is Kronk saying, "Wait, don't I know you?" And Pacha's, "Oh God, please don't remember." He says, "Wrestling in high school, we were in the Glee club together. I was always putting back. We're in the dance club together. I was back because of my weak ankles." This is great.
Oh man, good stuff.
I was never crazy about the gross out bug stuff, though. I got to be honest. Like the one nick I could ever give this. I'm going to say this: the only two nicks, and not even cons, man. There's only two nicks I could ever give this movie. One, the gross out bug thing, but again, it's up to interpret. It's whoever. It's subjectivity. The bugs are gross. Also, the one time we violate the narrative conceit, it's a fun moment, so I'll give it a pass. The kids having the nightmare about the waterfall.
Sure.
Like it's a buy, but it's it's cute. It's like okay, well, it's cute. All right. So let's see. Speaking of the kids, House on the Hill.
Yes. So this is where we could, of course, just oh my God, just Kronk, just instantly fucking. But he makes himself a fixture of this family instantly.
I just love that. Okay, so Chicha knows. I mean, I love this too. Chicha's a smart character. She already knows. these guys are probably not who they say they're. Because one, I don't think Hodge has anyone in his family who's scary beyond reason like this.
Right.
With Yzma, and again, her story sounds really sus, and then of course Patches directly comes up and tells her, so she knows. So, just ridiculously transparent the charade is, but I love how Kronk is so nice and he's so welcome. The kids love him. It's just so like, oh, we got to do this more. It's like everyone Cheech waving at him. It's like it's waving goodbye to him. It's just so delightful and pleasant. It's just so. Meanwhile, like we turn Yzma into like a tar and feathered pinata, which is
the jump rope, of course.
Which is great. It's just basically get all of the fun, broad slapstick with again the real pleasant absurdity on the side.
Yeah.
Then of course we get the map guy, which I already talked about. So and all the way up when they get back when Kuzco and Pacha re-enter the palace, they find the secret entrance and everything. We have like the Batman and Robin, the secret entrance to the Batcave rules applying here. So when they go through the ride, you end up suited up in like the lab coats that fit Kronk and Yzma, but of course they're like Pacha and Yzma's get up and Cusco as a llama and Kronk's just looks I love it, the whole bat pole suit up idea. Just so funny.
Uh-huh.
By the way, I always love that Kronk and Yzma always high five at the end. They do that in the series every time they do it. They high five. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Go down. Anyway, so let's talk about our climax. Let's talk about all the potion-y chaos.
I think this is such a fucking good climax, man. It's one of the best Disney climaxes, in my opinion. Just because, like, it's so Looney Tunes. It's so creative. All the different animals they turn into. So many, like, we have Cusco is the parrot, and then he's actually just a tiny little bird, and then of course the whole like, aha, I'm a llama again. Wait. I mean, just, oh my god, Dragon! Just it's off the charts. It's like rarely do movies really stick to landing in the third act, and like really. This is just it's the pinnacle of all the comedy, it really is just the pinnacle of the slapstick and the action and the comedy just like really all coming together. And of course, like you said, you get that big payoff with the Gorge. I mean, it's perfect.
And again, that's the biggest the scale gets, and I love how we just kept it to like one set piece.
And of course, one of my favorite Yzma moments that I saved for here is that my voice? Is that my voice?
So speaking of the subversion,
sorry.
So speaking of the subversions, we got to talk about that. So we subvert the age-old Disney trope, like I'm talking from the olden days, the Disney trope of the villain transformations. Where we turn to a dragon or a snake
or a sea monster.
Exactly. So we've turned her. We started the big menacing fake out, and she reveals she's turned like there's like she's a little kitty cat, which is also P.S. the ultimate Catwoman reference in getting Eartha Kitt in the role.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We also subvert the Disney villain fall to their death, where we put out a trampoline. We don't kill the Disney villain we don't kill the most feeble, most elderly and feeble Disney.
Oh God!
Even Frollo couldn't survive this, man. But we saved him.
Right.
Also, I love that we also saved Kronk. We confirmed that Kronk's okay with the whole. Like, can you imagine that lever let out here? What are the odds? There's so much fun here. Again, all the animal transformations. We have the one guy who says, "This moment always is it's so hysterical." It's the cow says, "I've been also Roger Bumpus, by the way, Squidward."
Hey, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home?
You're excused.
I love how accommodating Yzma is to her staff, all things considered, in that moment.
This wasn't
like, she understands,
And as again the Gorge, just again a wonderful payoff, but also just him saving Pacha too. That was a nice moment too, where he picks between the violin, Pacha saves Pacha.
All
right. So that brings us to kind of the heart of the piece, basically kind of our root image here. Let's talk about kind of the moral, the Cuscatopia of it all. It's kind of the arc and kind of where it ends up.
It's a family picture.
So I love bookending the two intimate.
That's pretty much the moral.
Sure. Way to sum it up. Anyway, so I love bookending the two intimate Pacha Cusco scenes in human form. Like we only have two of these scenes in the entire film, and one in Act One, one in Act Three.
Uh,
I just love the way we did this. We had like the false intimacy of that start, where it's like it seems like again initially Cusco seems kind of accommodating before he drops the hammer of Cuscotopia on him because he's like, hey, there's the guy I want to see. He's like kind of these false pleasantries. Like, well, again, he kind of means it. He just doesn't get the big hammer he's about to drop. Where it's like,
yeah.
show me where where the light comes on this hillside. And we've legitimized in such a natural way here upon the return, kind of the return after the journey, if you want to put in Joseph Campbellian terms, in a sense here, where Cusco all this time he thinks he wants a monument and a gift to himself. Happy birthday to me, which he's also was another contender for images for this, by the way, of like, hey, it's 20th anniversary, Cuscotopia. But again, all of this at the cost of a little humble village. You would kind of decimate this thing, and I love that it's maybe it's on the nose, but I think it's really sweet that it took him turning into a llama for Cusco to find his humanity and kind of stripped away the ego, the power, sent him on this humbling journey, and I love that we ended on the humble version of Cuscotopia. How do you feel about the extra hut?
I love it. I love the fact that Cuscotopia is like basically just this it's a day spa still, kind of, but it's like a day spa for the family dragon.
Yeah, it's like this little neighboring hut. Again, I just love that as it gets, and it's just like, instead of building the full-on thing somewhere else, not learning anything, where it's just so great. He learned. We've earned this moment at the end. We've earned the arc, and also I love the subtlety on Pacha. We just kind of throw again these two guys having conversations that don't spell it out. We're just I thought I heard some music from the hill next to us.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need. That's all you need. He's welcoming the family. He's got like the little llama poncho. It's like Cusco. He's not alone anymore. And he's outside of like the big palace. He's out he's on the hill, man. It's nice. Everything turns out quite nicely. We bring back Tom Jones. It's a slam dunk.
Also, Dragon, I have used the term "see you on the other side" as like a farewell in my day-to-day life.
Really?
Like, I'd say a good example for that is like when whenever I go to meet up with someone online. A lot of the times when I'm saying goodbye to them, like I'll meet up with Monkey or someone, someone like that. A lot of the times when I'm saying goodbye to them, and like departing from the trip, I'll be like, "See you on the other side." It's just kind of like it's. I've just kind of taken to that term. I feel like it's a nice, endearing farewell.
I gotta be honest. I thought it's nice.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I guess that's about it, Dragon. Let's just get into the legacy here. I just think the legacy of this movie, frankly, is just the comedy of it, man. Like I said, it absolutely shaped my comedic sensibilities to my core. Right? Like I feel like I absolutely would not have the same sense of humor that I have now without this movie. I think it's one of the best comedies ever made, not just animated comedies. It's straight up in terms of just laughs per minute, in terms of quotability, in terms of just the meta humor and how clever everything is. In my opinion, it is one of the elite, all-time great comedies in cinema history, in my opinion. So I really do think that's what its legacy is. It's got a heartwarming message to it, don't get me wrong, but the comedy, the characters, Kronk in particular, the fact that we got Eartha Kitt as a Disney villain, I mean, so much about this movie just, Dragon, to quote Pacha, it sings.
Yeah, legacy for me, just reflecting on here and kind of the old final thoughts of it all. It's not just a win in the buddy picture column for Disney. It's like unlike Eldorado, which I also love, by the way. Which I also love. This got the praise from the critics amidst kind of the kind of the financial hole of changing, because even with this thing was a big success on home video being the idea as well, but. And I'd like to think they broke even. I don't know the numbers offhand, but I want to say, you have to factor in how much they lost in the whole, 4 years of development too. That's the thing. So, considering there was 4 years of 4 years of work at play that kind of essentially got wasted. I think they cleaned up enough on the home video front. So much so, it got a following. So much so, it got a following ultimately, where you have Krunk's New Groove, which again, one of the I view one of the good Disney sequels. Maybe not a top spot. I put in my top five, not a top three, but a top five. It's very pleasant. At the very least, it's very pleasant. The Disney sequels, and actually a watchable one. Emperor's New School, again, as we're learning here, definitely has a following thanks to Fireblast Studios. But also, again, the good show. I really got to watch the ending of that show because I forget how it ended. I don't know if I got to the end. I remember I watched it when it was airing. I don't know if anyway. So yeah, this again, the point being, so unexpectedly, despite this again not quite doing as well as they had hoped, they got a franchise, which is something not a lot of the early 2000s Disney films can tout outside of Lilo and Stitch. I mean, outside of that one,
Lilo and Stitch was the big one. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Outside of Lilo and Stitch being the really big one, I mean, that's not a lot of them can really tout that off. They're saying like the one that they kind of got a kind of a raw end in certain regards. That kind of got a little passed over. It did so well for itself. It's a testament to why we're compelled to talk about it 20 years later. This is unlike the other Disney movies. This is so funny and paced. It's also really paced well. We can neglect to mention that, so well paced. Yet it slows down for the heart and the subtlety. I really appreciate that. It's Disney at its best, especially these days. Where these days we're using Disney, the name, as a mark of quality. Before it's just kind of like the house style, the Disney style, where it's like, we're just using a namesake only. We use the namesake in the best of ways. It's a good example of that. We don't. I honestly was looking at it today. We don't get films like Klaus, which is another great film, but again, in some respects, there's some shades of Emperor's New Groove in there. Shades of it,
sure.
not entirely, but again, Klaus years later, without Emperor's New Groove, kind of laying the groundwork to get kind of something a little experimental like that going on. To get us something again a little spaced out, a little subtle, allows like some really good character growth, great development. Also, kind of big guy, little guy pairing. I don't know, a little bit there. It reminds us of the potential of the human spirit. That's kind of what this movie's all about. Reminding us of the potential of the human spirit, that people can change even if we're lost in our own ways. All of this made possible by the right people changing their minds when it was difficult to. Like, Kingdom in the Sun isn't working. We got to change it. Let's call it Emperor's New Groove. Is it an adaptation of Emperor's New Clothes? Heck no, but we'll make it work anyway. To all this to tell the proper story that we can all cherish, and we do, because we're talking about it now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good point. Good points. So big shout out to Claude Coringa, Pink Pearl, and let's see, Fireblast Studios for joining us here. You guys are awesome. Dragon, I'm kind of regretting using that box inside of a box thing because that was going to be my go-to exit line.
I got your exit line for you.
Okay.
See you on the other side, folks.
Oh, the poison for Kuzco. The poison chosen specifically to kill Kuzco. Kuzco's poison.
Right.
That's a harp, and that's a dress.
It's a robe.